The jacket hung on her shoulders like a stranger's shadow. I stood in the kitchen stirring sauce for our family dinner when I saw it dark green, too big, the kind of leather that smelled like cedar and smoke. Not mine, not hers. My chest tightened, a slow squeeze like the air was turning to glass. I wanted to ask, but her laugh, that quick, nervous laugh she gave when our son Theo spilled his juice, it stopped me cold. I kept stirring, the sauce burned. We lived in a small apartment, third floor, overlooking a street that hummed with late-night taxis and rain-slicked sidewalks. The city was Seattle, gray and heavy, the kind of place where secrets hide in fog. I'm Julian Voss, 34, a graphic designer who thought love was enough to hold a marriage together. My wife Lena was a paralegal, sharp and radiant, with hazel eyes that used to light up when she saw me. Used to. These days her gaze drifted, past me, past Theo, past the life we'd built over 7 years. That night the table was set for 3. Theo, 6, was drawing spaceships on a napkin. Lena was late, as usual, her phone buzzing on the counter. I ignored it, I always did, but the jacket, it wasn't just fabric, it was a question I couldn't unask. She'd walked in at 7:14 p.m., her hair damp from the drizzle, that green leather draped over her like a second skin. Work ran late, she said, not meeting my eyes. She kissed Theo's head, hung the jacket on the chair and sat down. The air smelled of rain and something else, cologne, sharp and unfamiliar. I served the pasta. Theo babbled about his day. Lena nodded, her fork scraping the plate. I watched her hands, no ring. She'd stopped wearing it months ago, said it caught on her gloves. I believed her then, now I wasn't sure. The jacket sat there, silent, mocking. I imagined it belonged to someone taller, broader, someone who didn't spend nights designing logos to pay the rent. Someone who made her laugh the way she used to with me. Nice jacket, I said, voice steady, though my pulse wasn't. She froze just for a second, then smiled. Too quick. Borrowed it, she said, from a coworker, forgot my umbrella. Her eyes flicked to Theo, then back to her plate. I nodded like I believed her. I didn't. The lie hung between us, heavy as the rain outside. I poured more wine, my hand shaking just enough to notice. After dinner, Theo ran to his room, clutching his spaceship drawings. Lena cleared the table, humming softly like nothing was wrong. I stood by the sink, watching her reflection in the window. The city lights blurred, a kaleidoscope of regret. I wanted to ask, I wanted to scream. Instead, I washed the dishes, the hot water scalding my hands. She dried them, standing close but not close enough. Her phone buzzed again, she ignored it. I didn't. Later in bed, she slept while I stared at the ceiling. The jacket was still downstairs, slung over the chair. I got up, barefoot, the floor cold against my soles. The apartment was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the distant wail of a siren. I stood over the jacket, my fingers tracing the leather. Inside the pocket, a receipt, coffee shop, 2 lattes, her name Lena scrawled in black ink, and another name, Nico. My stomach twisted. I didn't know a Nico, but she did. I went back to bed, her breathing soft beside me. I wanted to shake her awake, demand answers. But what do you say when your heart's already breaking? I lay there, the receipt burning a hole in my mind, the name Nico echoing like a pulse. The rain kept falling, tapping the window, a rhythm of things I couldn't unsee. I closed my eyes, but sleep didn't come. All I could see was her in that jacket, walking away. The days after were a blur of gray. I woke up each morning to the same rain, the same ache. Lena acted like nothing had changed, coffee brewed, Theo's lunch packed, her heels clicking out the door. But the jacket was gone. She'd tucked it away or maybe returned it. I didn't ask. Asking felt like losing. I worked from home, my laptop glowing in the dim living room. The apartment felt emptier now, the walls too close. Theo's toys littered the floor, plastic rockets, half-built Lego towers. I'd pick them up, then stop, my hands shaking. I kept seeing her in that jacket, the way it didn't belong, the way she didn't either. I started noticing things. Her phone always face down, her late nights blamed on case files. The way she'd linger in the bathroom, texting, the door locked. I didn't snoop, not yet, but I watched. I saw the way her smile faltered when I asked about her day. The way she'd hug Theo tighter, like she was holding onto something slipping away. One night, I went to a cafe down the street, a place we used to love. Dark wood, warm lights, the smell of espresso. I sat in the corner, sketching on my tablet, trying to drown out the noise in my head. That's when I saw him, Nico. I didn't know his face, but I knew his name. The barista called it out, Nico, 2 lattes. He was tall, broad, with dark hair and a laugh that carried. He took the cups and left, his green jacket slung over his shoulder. My chest burned. I didn't follow him. I couldn't. Back home, I checked her phone. I hated myself for it, but I did. The passcode was Theo's birthday, messages from N. Short, vague, but enough. Miss you, meet me tomorrow. You looked beautiful. My hands shook as I read. I put the phone down, my reflection staring back from the screen. I didn't recognize myself, hollow eyes, clenched jaw. I wanted to hate her. I couldn't. I started running at night, the city streets slick with rain. The rhythm of my steps drowned out the thoughts. I'd pass couples laughing, their hands intertwined, and feel a pang so sharp it stole my breath. I'd run until my lungs burned, until I could almost forget the way she looked in his jacket. Almost. Theo kept me grounded, his small hand in mine, his questions about stars and planets. I'd tell him stories, my voice steady while my heart cracked. Lena noticed. She'd watch me from across the room, her eyes soft, guilty. "You okay?" she'd ask. I'd nod. What else could I do? One evening, I found a photo on her laptop, her and Nico at some bar, her head on his shoulder. She looked happy, happier than she'd been with me in years. I closed the laptop, my hands cold. I didn't cry. I just sat there, the apartment silent except for the rain. I thought about leaving, I thought about staying, I thought about Theo. Then a message, her phone lit up on the counter. I didn't touch it, but I saw the name, Nico. "I'm sorry," it said. "I can't do this anymore." My heart stopped. Was it over or was it just beginning? I stood there, the rain louder now, pounding against the windows. I didn't know what came next. But I knew I couldn't keep pretending. She came back on a Tuesday, her hair wet, her eyes red. The apartment was dark, just the glow of a single lamp. Theo was asleep, his spaceship drawings scattered on the table. I was nursing a whiskey, the glass sweating in my hand. The doorbell buzzed, sharp and sudden, like a knife through the quiet. I opened the door and there she was, Lena, no jacket, just a thin sweater and a face full of regret. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. I didn't move, I didn't speak. I just looked at her, the woman I'd loved for a decade, the woman who'd worn another man's jacket to our family dinner. Her hands trembled, clutching a small bag. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside, the air heavy between us. She sat on the couch, her knees drawn up like she was trying to make herself small. The room smelled of rain and old coffee. I stood by the window, watching the streetlights blur. "Why?" I finally said, my voice low, raw. She flinched like the word was a slap. "I don't know," she said, her eyes on the floor. "I was lost, he was there. I wasn't." I wanted to yell, to shake her, to ask how she could throw us away. But I didn't, I just listened. She talked halting, broken words about stress, loneliness, a version of herself she didn't recognize. Nico was a paralegal at her firm, someone who listened when she felt invisible. "It wasn't love," she said, her voice cracking. "It was escape." I sat across from her, the distance between us a canyon. "You wore his jacket," I said, the words sharp despite my calm. Her eyes widened, then fell. "I didn't think you'd notice," she whispered. That hurt more than anything, the idea that I wouldn't see her unraveling. We talked for hours, the city humming outside. She cried, her face buried in her hands. I wanted to hold her, to fix it, but my hands stayed still. Love was there, buried under the pain, but it wasn't enough. Not anymore. "I ended it," she said, looking at me for the first time. "Nico's gone, I want to come home." I looked at her, really looked. Her eyes were the same, but different, haunted, fragile. I thought of Theo, asleep in his room. I thought of the receipt, the photo, the jacket. I thought of the man I'd become, hollowed out by her choices. "You can stay," I said, my voice barely audible, "but just for tonight." She nodded, tears falling, and the room went quiet. The rain stopped, leaving only silence. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for now she was here, and that was enough to break me all over again. Morning came, soft, sunlight spilling through the curtains. The apartment was still, the kind of quiet that feels like holding your breath. Lena was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her face peaceful in sleep. I stood in the kitchen, coffee brewing, the scent grounding me. Theo's laughter echoed from his room, a reminder of why I hadn't walked away. I watched her wake, her eyes blinking against the light. She looked at me, hesitant, hopeful. I didn't smile, I didn't frown. I just poured her a cup, sliding it across the counter. She took it, her fingers brushing mine, a spark of something old and gone. "Thank you," she said, her voice small. I nodded, my throat tight. "We didn't talk about last night." We didn't need to. The words had been said, the wounds laid bare. I took Theo to school, the city waking up around us, buses rumbling, pigeons scattering. He asked if Mommy was staying. I said I didn't know. He didn't push, just squeezed my hand, his small fingers warm against mine. Back home, Lena was packing her bag, slow, deliberate, like she was memorizing the room. I watched from the doorway, my arms crossed. "Where will you go?" I asked. She paused, her hand on a sweater. "My sister's," she said. "For now," I nodded. It wasn't my place to ask for more. We sat at the table, the same one where she'd worn his jacket. The memory stung, but softer now, like a bruise fading. "I loved you," I said, not looking at her. "I still do, but I can't keep waiting for you to choose me." Her breath caught, but she didn't argue. She just nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. I thought about the years we'd had, the late-night talks, the way she'd dance with Theo in the living room, the promises we'd made. I thought about the jacket, the receipt, the photo. I thought about the man I'd seen at the cafe, laughing, unaware of the life he'd fractured. And I realized something. I didn't hate him. I didn't hate her. I just wanted to be whole again. She left at noon, the door clicking shut behind her. The apartment felt bigger, quieter. I stood by the window, watching her figure fade into the city's gray. The rain had stopped, the sky clear for the first time in weeks. I thought about forgiveness, not for her, but for me. For the years I'd spent trying to hold on to something already gone. Theo came home, his backpack swinging. He didn't ask about her. Kids know more than we think. We built a Lego spaceship, his laughter filling the silence. And for the first time in months, I felt light. Not happy, not yet, but free. She left twice, once with him, and once when I finally let her go. Finally let her go.